to our Animal Team channel. I want to talk about gorillas. Like and subscribe to the channel. The modern classification of gorillas includes 2 species and 4 subspecies of this animal. Let's look at them. The western gorilla species includes 2 subspecies, the western river gorilla and the western plain gorilla. What does a gorilla look like? The gorilla looks very impressive. Wide, tall, one solid muscle. Such an animal does not want to meet in the forest. The gorilla is the largest primate. Males are much larger than females. Their height is 1.4 to 1.8 m. The height of females is usually from 1.25 to 1.5 m. The width of the shoulders of males is about 1 m, and the span of the arms can exceed 2.6 m. The gorilla looks impressive. Many publications describe individuals of gorillas who reach 2 m or more in height. For example, Igor Akimushkin, a Soviet zoologist, at the beginning of the 20th century described an individual with a height of 2.32 m, which was killed by hunters. The weight of gorillas is also impressive. On average, male gorillas weigh from 150 to 180 kilograms. However, the heaviest recorded individual in the wild weighed 267 kilograms with a height of 1.83 m. In captivity, gorillas gain excess weight. Their mass does not rarely exceed 300 kilograms. Big gorilla. Depending on the species and subspecies, gorillas have different shades of fur and its length. The western gorilla is lighter than the eastern one. The mountain gorilla has the thickest coat. The color of the gorilla's coat has dark shades of brown, gray, and even black. The western lowland gorilla often contains light gray and brown colors, has a reddish or reddish forehead. In adult males, by about the age of 12, a silvery coat appears on the back, because of which they receive the name silverback. Albinos sometimes appear among gorillas. Western gorilla. The gorilla's head is quite large. The lower jaw protrudes relative to the upper one. With age, pronounced upper and lower canines appear. Males have a sagittal crest at the top of the skull above the eyes. This indicates quite powerful jaw muscles. Gorilla eyes are small in size. The eye color is dark brown, often has a black border. Gorilla head. The gorilla's arms are very powerful and long. The tallest registered silverback had a height of 1.95 m, a chest girth of almost 2 m, and an arm span of 2.7 m. As a rule, a gorilla moves on all 4s. Moreover, she relies on her fists when moving, which preserves a fairly soft skin on her palms. A gorilla can walk on its hind legs, but it rarely does so. Usually silverbacks stand on their hind legs defending their group and depict an intimidating ritual. Gorilla hits the chest. Gorillas have very similar DNA to humans. It is the closest relative of humans among primates after bonobos and chimpanzees. Gorillas, like humans, have individual fingerprints. The life expectancy of gorillas in the wild is 35 to 40 years. Less often they live up to 50 years. In captivity, the oldest female named Fatu lives in the Berlin Zoo to this day. She was born on April 13, 1957, and in 2022 she turned 65 years old. Description of the gorilla and its lifestyle. Gorillas are diurnal. Moreover, they They sleep much longer than a person, approximately 12 hours. About an hour before sunset, they start getting ready for bed. To do this, they build a nest of branches up to 1.5 m in diameter. A gorilla builds a place to sleep on the ground. They sleep alone, only the cubs spend the night next to their mothers. Even if the gorilla spent the day in the same place where he spent the night, every night he arranges a new nest for himself. The gorilla sleeps in the nest. The main aspect of describing gorillas is their way of living in groups. They live in small groups, which are called squads. Usually there is one adult male silverback in the group and his harem of several females with cubs. The squad may include several males, but the leader of such a pack is still one. It is the leader of the silverback who determines the daily routine, the place of running, and first begins to prepare for bed. He protects his squad from outsiders and predators, even at the cost of his own life. Gorilla squad gorillas, both female and male, are able to leave their detachments, join strangers. Single males form their own new groups. In the event of the death of the leader of silverback, the group may break up. Sometimes another male of the group or an outsider takes the place of the head of the pack. The group may even exist for some time without a leader in order to protect and preserve the offspring. A pack of gorillas always communicate with each other through sounds. There are up to 25 different vocalizations for different situations. By sounds they communicate their location during feeding in dense vegetation. When interacting with each other, they constantly make sounds. By shouting, silverback or another member of the pack signals danger. Gorilla communication. Due to their sound vocalization and behavior, gorillas rarely use physical force against each other or other animals. For example, the leader of the pack, in case of the appearance of strangers, depicts an intimidating ritual. At first, he begins to hoot actively. Then he gets up on his hind legs and throws vegetation, starts beating his chest with his fists. Then he starts running fast, demolishing everything in his path. At the end of the demonstration, he roars loudly, shows his fangs, breaks vegetation, and hits the ground with his palms. As a rule, this is enough to intimidate any opponent. What do gorillas eat? Does a gorilla eat meat? For all their brutality, these animals are not carnivores. Gorillas are herbivores and their main food is vegetation, leaves and tree branches. Their powerful jaw muscles and teeth allow you to chew even bark and hardwood without problems. Also, to a lesser extent, they eat various fruits and fruits. Gorillas eat leaves depending on the subspecies. The gorilla's diet may vary. The only animal food gorillas eat is insects. Gorillas spend a lot of time a day feeding. They practically do not depend on water because their food contains a very large amount of liquid. Therefore, a gorilla drinking can be seen quite rarely. Gorilla doesn't eat meat. Where do gorillas live? Gorillas live in Africa. The distribution of the western and eastern gorillas is separated by the Congo River. Gorillas live both in mountain forests and in lowlands and swamps. It all depends on the specific subspecies. Mountain gorillas live at altitudes from 600 to 4,100 m above sea level. They usually live in mountain forests. Eastern lowland gorillas live, on the contrary, in the foothill forests. Lowland gorillas also live in bamboo forests. The gorilla lives in Africa. Western gorillas live in low-lying swampy areas. They also live in foothill, plain and mountain forests up to 1,600 m above sea level. Gorilla lives in forests. Gorilla breeding. Female gorillas become ready to breed at the age of 10 to 12 years, and males are 11 to 13 years old. The time of year for the reproduction of gorillas is not important. This process can happen anytime. The gestation period in gorillas lasts 8.5 months. The female gives birth to one cub. The interval between childbirth in gorillas is from 3 to 5 years. During this period, the female is busy feeding and raising offspring. Baby gorilla. The baby gorilla is born quite small. Their average weight is 2 kilograms. Babies are completely dependent on their mother. At first, she feeds her child at least 1 time per hour. As you get older, this interval is shortened. Male gorillas do not participate in upbringing and feeding, but they maintain friendly relations with the young and also protect them from aggression even within the pack. Reproduction of gorillas until about 6 months of age. Small gorillas are inseparable from their mothers. They do not leave them at all. They sleep with them in the same nest. By the year they can move away for short distances, usually up to 5 m, and spend some time alone. At the age of about 1.5 to 2 years, the baby gorilla already regularly spends time alone. At this age, the mother continues to feed him, although much less often. Gorilla feeding from the age of 3. Gorillas begin the phase of growing up. They begin a kind of adolescence. At this age, their mother completely weans them from feeding, and they also begin to build separate nests for the night. Soon, after the completion of feeding her almost adult cub, the female becomes ready to breed new offspring. Mother and teen gorilla. The intelligence of gorillas, but is she smart? The intelligence of gorillas can surprise many. These primates experience a full palette of emotions. They can be sad and laugh. Many studies show that gorillas are able to recall and comprehend any events from their lives. These animals develop quite strong family ties within the group. In captivity, some individuals were taught sign language. Developed gorilla intelligence. The gorilla is a very intelligent animal, as evidenced by the fact that it can use various objects as a tool to achieve its goal. For example, scientists observed one individual who, before crossing a swampy area, probed the depth in it with a stick. Smart gorilla. Another gorilla was watched in the process as she used a stump as a pier. In the Republic of the Congo in 2005, a fairly young gorilla, 5 years old, was discovered, which wielded a stone to break the peel of palm nuts. All this allows us to conclude that the intelligence of the gorilla is sufficiently developed. Are gorillas dangerous to humans? If we take into account the size and physical strength, we can conclude that gorillas are dangerous to humans. However, in life everything looks exactly the opposite. It is man who has been systematically destroying these animals for a long time. Gorilla can attack. In general, gorillas are not conflict animals. They rarely have run-ins with chimpanzees during feeding, which have an approximately similar diet. But as a rule, these primates ignore and avoid each other. For the gorillas themselves, jaguars are dangerous. a gorilla in the Red Book. All species and, accordingly, subspecies of gorillas are listed in the Red Book with the status of an endangered species. Gorillas have a fairly long lifespan, but at the same time a slow reproductive cycle. And taking into account the destruction of their environment, poaching and diseases, this type of animal is rapidly reducing its number. Gorilla in the Red Book. The main reason for the decline in the number of gorillas is human activity. Merciless deforestation reduces the places suitable for their life and feeding. Gorillas are also being poached for trophies and meat. In some countries, gorillas are still eaten. The gorilla is endangered. Gorillas are also susceptible to diseases that humans also carry. For example, the outbreak of the Ebola virus in 2004 in Africa, according to some experts, took the lives of up to 5,000 individuals of these animals. However, this is not the only disease transmitted to gorillas from humans. It has also been observed in captive gorillas that they can even catch COVID-19. Approximate number of surviving gorilla specimens: Western lowland gorilla 150 to 200,000 individuals. Western river gorilla 270 to 290 individuals. Eastern mountain gorilla more than 1,000 individuals. Eastern lowland gorilla more than 5,000 individuals.